Radio Worldwide South. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All righty. Good morning and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with The Compensatory Concept. I'm your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. In a few moments, I'm going to give you the numbers that you can call to get into the show, and I can also give you an email address or Gmail address where you can also get in contact with the show so that we may have an opportunity to answer your questions. Our guest, as usual, is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., the author of the book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and it is really a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. Now, he's on every week, most of the time live, and then when it's not, then we will announce that. Got to do some house cleaning. We have been seeking donations, for the compensatory concept. So let me read this right quick to start off the show. K&E World Network is where you want to send your donations to for an additional hour of the compensatory concept, and also for just the support and continued support of the program. And let me read this. You want to send your donations to K&E World Network, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206, in care of the compensatory concept. Now, we will accept a money order or a bank check. No personal checks will be allowed. And K&E will email you your receipt, and all donations are final. Now, the purpose is to extend the compensatory concept for an additional hour, making it a 2-hour program. Our goal is to cover 1 year of programming. Now, when you do that, do not, and I repeat this, do not send any donations to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Don't do that. He is in no way connected to this effort that we are doing to have an additional hour on the compensatory concept. Many of you have asked for an additional hour, and we are in the process of putting together the funds to do that. But do not send it to Neely Fuller. In fact, he might say something about that later on in the show, but don't do that. Send them again to K&E World Network, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206, in care of the compensatory concept. Again, no personal checks, money orders, or a bank check will be acceptable, and then we will, or K&E rather, will email you your receipt. That's to make sure it's on the up and up. I think that's all the house cleaning that I have to do. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Mr. Fuller, as usual, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, and I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Could you tell us a little bit about the book, your book, how to get it, any additional books, any printings coming up, and then make a comment on the donation portion?
The book itself is just a basic textbook that's addressed to individuals who perceive themselves as being victims of racism, either directly or indirectly. in any area of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. These just about cover, I call them the basic 9 areas of activity that covers just about anything that people are doing on the planet, any time of day or night. They're engaged in one or more of these areas of activity. And if you are a person of color, I have taken the position over my years of studies and observations and experiences and talking to people and paying attention to things, that if you are a person of color, you will have a basic race problem, what they call a race problem, based on people not wanting to help you, being against you, finding ways to mistreat you because of your color. It's called racism in the form of white supremacy. So I've written a book about that tells a person how to react to every situation, hopefully a little outline anyway, how to start to react in the best and most constructive manner to every situation that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. That's how I started writing the book myself. I started writing it for myself. But then as things began to happen and people began to ask me questions about things, people said that maybe they could use some of these ideas themselves, and that's when I started putting it into writing. So it's the subtitle of the book is The Textbook Workbook for Thought, Speech, and or Action for Victims of Racism in the form of what I call white supremacy. That's the only form of functional racism. And then there's an additional book called A Compensatory Counter-Racist Word Guide. This book tells you how to use words, how not to use words, just a little outline, a basic outline, and what to look for, what to ask about when other people use words. Because the white supremacists, those people who believe in mistreating people based on color, use words in such a way that they can better mistreat people based on color. They use words to do it when they are not using direct action. So I have a guide for that. You can get the basic book and the additional book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on your screen is the method for ordering. And hopefully you can use at least some of the information that's in these books. One is an addition to the other. Now, in regards to sending in donations, you do not send donations to me. Someone else thought of the idea of coming up with some way of paying for an extra hour of me being on the air. I had nothing to do with this. This is something that people thought might be useful, so they addressed the site, talktainmentradio.com, about that. And they said they'd like to hear me. That's what I've heard. But I do not receive any of this money. I'm not connected with that in any way. So if it's something people want to do, they can negotiate that with the station itself. I'm just a voice on this service, just like the people who call in. They're just a voice on the service. So if somebody wants to support the service, they send in their money to them. Mm-hmm. Right, that's the way that works. That's the way I've been told that it works.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, now that we got that straight. One more bit of house cleaning. Listen, I am required to have a station break at 15, 30, and 45 after the hour. I do not intend to necessarily interrupt Mr. Neely Fuller as he is giving an answer or addressing your issues, but I have to do this every 15 minutes after the hour, 30 minutes after the hour, and 45. I have to do this so it's not disrespectful, or I don't want to make it disrespectful to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I don't want to do that, but I have to do this because this is what the station is mandating that all the hosts here at Talktainment Radio do. So that was for your information. Mr. Fuller, before we go to the phone lines, I noticed that you happen to be on a show that is broadcast over the web. I think it's called Straight Talk Live with Kahari Inaharo, a former co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. It was on this past Saturday, and I caught maybe the tail end of it. And a lot of people have asked me, about that. Do I know when you're going to be on the show? Because a lot of people really like to listen to you, and they obviously call in. They have a lot of additional questions that they would like to ask you in the future. Now, because I don't know your arrangements with Straight Talk Live, but if you are going to be on, is there any way that that they can have notice that they can, get up and listen to the show, which broadcasts on, I believe, Saturdays live at 6 a.m. Eastern time here in Columbus?
Yes, I could just say it on this show.
Okay.
On any show. I have no problems with that. I like to direct people's attention to wherever I have an outlet for talking. And if I know that I'm going to be on Straight Talk Live on Saturday, I think it's Saturday, 6 a.m. usually.
Yes, sir.
And that's phone number, I think it's phone number 614-458-9553. Magic 106, I believe, .3.
Yes, sir.
FM.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, yes, people can tune in there, and they can pick me up there every now and then whenever I'm invited to be on.
Okay. Okay. So you heard that here. Whenever, if I heard him correctly, whenever he has noticed that he is going to be on the show, then via us here at Talktainment Radio, he will let us know, and then you will know so that you can call in your concerns, and then he will, can address that. Okay. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, you can by calling 1-877-932-9766. That's the number you can call, 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will try to get to your questions. Mr. Fuller, before we take any phone calls and read any Gmails, do you have our opening concern?
Well, no, you probably have some people on the line now. If you do have people on the line, then I will just go right ahead and start answering people's questions, because is that the case right now?
No, we have.
Okay.
I usually like to give out the number first, and then after you speak, then I have them.
Then you have them called in.
Yes, sir.
That's the procedure.
Yes, sir.
All right. I would like to revisit something that I've said previously on there about people's wants. Everybody gets up in the morning wanting to do something. Most of the time, you can't do what you want to do because you have to do what somebody else wants you to do, meaning, like, usually go to work somewhere. You might not want to do that, but that's something you have to do. But I'm talking about people's wants. We all want to do something, even in going to work. You want to go to work so that you can get paid most of the time. And you want to get paid so that you can have money. And you want the money so that you can buy things that you want to buy, or pay for things that you already have that you need to pay for. So that's why you want to go to work, so that you can get the money to pay for things that you want to get that will, quote, unquote, satisfy your wants or needs. So it comes down to, what do you want most? Every person, every day, according to compensatory logic, should get up in the morning thinking about the answer to that question. You want a lot of things. Everybody does. Most people do, rather. Not just one or two things. You want a lot of things throughout any given day, 24 hours, all over the world. Birds want things. Bees want things. Cats. Everybody, all people want. People rushing here, rushing there because of your wants. What do you want to do? You want to catch that bus so you can go wherever you got to go to get something that you want. That's why you're doing it. You want to carjack a car, I mean, so that, to satisfy a want. That want might be a drug habit. See, wants, W-A-N-T-S. So it comes down to, what do you want most? Do you ever think about that? I think about it. What do you want most? Mm-hmm. So it's 4 things that I say, 4 questions people should ask themselves all the time. I made them up myself as a part of the code. What do you want to do? Because a want has to do with doing something. So what do you want to do most? That's number 1. What is it you want to do most out of all the wants that you have? Stop and be honest with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. A lot of people have problems telling themselves the truth. What do you want most? A lot of things that people, when they're sitting at the office or in the warehouse, somebody would ask that question, what do you really want? They say, oh, I want, I want to do this. I want to go there. I want to go to Paris. I mean,
Yes,
sometimes people just say things, but they're not telling the truth. When they are alone, you tell yourself the truth. What do I really want? What do I want most? Out of everything that's going on around me, what do I really want most? Me, without asking anybody anything. What do I know that I want? So that first question is, what do you want to do? Because it's going to have something to do with doing something. Second question, why do I want to do it? Why is it I want to do this thing most? That I think, or I'm always thinking about, tossing and turning during the night, that I want to do most. Why do I want to do it? There's a reason why I want to do it. And number 3, how do I plan to do it? Because if you want to do something, you're going to have some kind of plan. Okay. Even if it's no more than change your bus route. Mm-hmm. And then number 4, and this is really important, what do I expect the constructive result to be? As if I get the thing that I want most, what do I expect the constructive result to be? And this will go a long ways toward getting a person's so-called life in some kind of order. Mm-hmm. I know I have to do that all the time. Ask myself, what do I want and why do I want it? That why is real big.
Okay. All righty. I'm way past the station break, so let me go ahead and give it. Let's see. Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as the news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Here's one I'd quickly like to share with you, and it is called For Such a Time as This. Now, you can join host Rob Rand as he gets into stimulating conversation on many topics dealing with today's life. For Such a Time as This, it is broadcast on Fridays, and it is exclusive on TalkTainmentRadio.com. 1-877-932-9766 is the number you can call, or 7MrBobby@gmail.com. Who, what, when, how, and where. Let's go to line number 1. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. I'm on my way to the bank so I can get a bank check to mail in to you for the show.
Good, thank you.
I want to make sure I got the address. It's K&E World Network. Is that one word?
Yeah, it's K&E World Network, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio 43206. Make it out in care of the Compensatory Concept. Thank you.
Okay, that's K as in kite, the word and E as in Aaron.
Yeah, the symbol, and then the letter E, capital letter E, and then and then World Network.
One word.
World and then Network. That's 2 words.
2 words.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I mean, also your email address, Mr. Bobby, is 7mrbobby@gmail.com.
7mrbobby@gmail.com. Yes, ma'am.
The number 7 or the word 7?
No, the number 7.
And then Bobby, Bobby.
Yes, ma'am. And don't send any donations there. I'll get in trouble.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Also, I wanted to say that the death of Dr. Chris Wilson has struck me really bad. I got to talk to that woman in July when she was in Sacramento, and I got asked to look that woman in the eye and say, "Thank you for clearing up a question I had been trying to search for the answer for 10 years. I was trying to search down through all type of means, religions, communism, observation, etc. Why would white people want to murder, torture, and abuse black people and never snap out of it?"
Mm-hmm.
I was searching for that question, the answer to it, and she gave it to me in her work.
Yes.
And I'm so happy I got to look at her in the eye and say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the question I wanted to ask Mr. Neely Fuller. Mr. Fuller, I was debating whether to spend the money to fly down to D.C. to go to Dr. Chris Wilson's memorial or spend the money trying to carry on her legacy and your legacy. What do you think, Mr. Fuller?
Well, I'll say that again. I didn't quite get the question.
Well, like I said, I'm broken up by Mrs. Chris Wilson's death, and I was debating whether to spend the money to fly out and get a hotel and go to her memorial or stay right where I'm at and put the time, money, and energy into carrying on her legacy and your legacy.
Oh, well, if you're talking about legacies and Dr. Francis Chris Wilson's legacy, people have asked me something about that, and I have said, you just simply study her works, study her words. I say that over and over again. That to me is, it takes in the condolences, it takes in everything. Dr. Wilson produced or use many, many words, thousands of words. That is basically her legacy. She's known for her words. What did she say? And what were those words, those tools, used to try to accomplish? So study her words. That is it. It's not the personality. She is the vehicle for the words that she put out. That's why she attracted attention to herself, because of her words. So she left a wealth of words everywhere that you can track down what she said, because she's not going to say anything else, unfortunately. She left here suddenly. I mean, a lot of people went into shock about that. I was not prepared for it. I had talked to her maybe just a few days. I think about 2 days before then. And everything seemed to be just fine as far as what she was doing. She was right on course, like she usually was, to do her work, spread her words, and then suddenly it was all over, just like that, in a twinkling. It can happen to any of us. Be prepared for that. Always be prepared for that. We don't know. We don't know when we're going to be born. We don't know when we're going to leave here, sometimes without any kind of indication that we're going. And that happened apparently in the case of Dr. Francis Chris Wilson. So, having said that, study her words. And it's the same with Neely Fuller Jr. Just study his words. No monuments to Neely Fuller Jr., except to study what he said, because that's all he really did. When you just look at him and size him up, if he left here just in the next 5 minutes, all you really have is, what did he say? And what did he want us to do as a result of what he said? And I should have told you, because if I didn't, then I have missed my mark as far as what I was talking for. what I was writing for. If I didn't tell you why I was talking and what it was supposed to do, because that's what I wanted to do, that's why I was doing it, then I have missed my mark. My entire existence has been absolutely nothing.
Oh, all righty. Thank you for your...
Just one quick question. Mr. Fuller, do you know when her funeral is going to be?
I have only heard rumors, but I have heard that it's going to be in Chicago, and I don't have any details.
All righty.
Those details are being worked out, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for your call. Let's see, Ed, line number 2. What is you're on now with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question, please?
Yes, greetings, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Fuller, I wanted to make a statement more than ask a question. My name is Freedom. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California, where this information that Mr. Fuller provides is most necessary. In your shows, most of the time we don't get a chance or opportunity to really have Mr. Fuller expound on what he's talking about. And we need to have more of that. When I listen to Dr. Welsing, may she rest in peace, she always has the opportunity to speak on whatever platform it is, and then people have the opportunity to ask questions. My request, even with the 2 hours, I think we need to hear more of just Mr. Neely Fuller speaking on certain topics to get points out, because eventually he will hit on everybody's questions and thoughts or whatever, because the information that you're providing is most necessary, and we need more of it, and we need more of his time. The 2 hours is great, but we need to hear Mr. Fuller a whole lot more. Thank you, and respect to all the freedom fighters out there. Again, my name is Freedom. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California. Peace.
Okay, Freedom. More of Mr. Fuller. That sounds good to me. Let's see here. Where do I go to? Line 3? Okay, line 3. You're on very quickly with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Hello?
Good day, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, for all the work you did, or still do. It seems like there's a lot of small ball talk on the news media that I see around. I see in the U.S. Can black folks take initiative? Say, like North Korea is testing nuclear weapons, Russia invaded parts of Ukraine. It seems like black people were always reacting to racism. Can we take more initiative, and how can we do that?
Okay, Mr. Fuller, quickly.
Well, black people always reacting to racism. We always have to react to racism because we're prisoners of war. So prisoners of war react just like prisoners. You react to the prison routine. It's just a matter of how you react. That's what codification is for. Each and every day, someone is saying something or doing something. So minute by minute, you want to know how to react in every situation that you're in. I've given illustrations over and over again. I think it runs right past people. But what is the subject? What is going on at any given moment? You want to react in the best possible manner that will have the most constructive result. That's the thing to center on. How do you react in a manner that produces the most constructive result for the victim of racism each and every time in any area of activity? Mm-hmm. Whether it's economics, you're on a job, something comes up. Somebody walks in. I'll give an illustration. You're sitting there, you're studying your computer, you're operating a forklift, and someone comes up to you and starts swearing at you, starts cursing and whatnot.
Okay.
How do you react?
Okay. Sorry, we have to take a station break. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We have a couple of questions that we will address, and then more of your phone calls. All that and more coming up next on TalkTimeAtRadio.com.
TalkTimeAtRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTimeAtRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTimeAtRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTimeAtRadio.com.
At Word Automotive Sales, you can get a car with no credit, no interest, and no finance charges. That's right. No credit, no interest, and no finance charges. Word Automotive Sales will work with you. Call them at 614-237-5171 or stop in at 3333 East Main Street. Tell them that All in Our Family sent you. Don't forget the Word Automotive Sales.
614-237-5171. That's 614-237-5171.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom, but a little over a year ago, we realized she couldn't take care of herself without our help. And well, how could I not be there for her? I had no idea how hard it would be, and just what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and, even for me, ways to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics that
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plato and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then, hey! The dreaded splash fight. It's Dad o'clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? Amid the chaos? Or is the best time perhaps today? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
My suit can still make an impression.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill, it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. How about downloading the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or tablet? That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we are addressing what he started off with once, basically the 5 basic questions, the who, what, when, how, and most importantly, Mr. Fuller pointed out why. What do you want and why do you want it? You basically know who and the when, but why do you want it? We're talking or speaking to wants. You can call in at 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. You might want to get his, we would like it if you did get his book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. You can get that by going to producejustice.com, and what will come up on the screen are instructions how you can obtain your copy of the book and an additional word guide for an additional fee. Also, before we go to the Gmails, if you want to donate to the show, and we would certainly like for you to do it in the first segment, a lady did on her way to the bank to get some money to donate. This is how you do it. You have to send it to K&E World Network. That's Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio, 43206. Make it in care of The Compensatory Concept. Now, we will accept a check, or a bank check. That's BANK, bank check or money order. No personal checks. We will email you your receipt, and all donations are final. And the purpose of this is to extend the compensatory concept for and an additional hour, making it a 2-hour program. Our goal is to cover 1 year's worth of programming. Mr. Fuller, going to the Gmails. I have a friend named Mitro down in French Guiana, and I did a little history search on French Guiana, very interesting. But he wrote, he said that, Mr. Fuller, do you think that it is necessary for the non-white/black people to overcome the race issue by stop trying to prove being black and focus on, and he has this capitalized, results which are either constructive or non-constructive?
If I understand the question, everything is just constructive or non-constructive. Every move that you make, this is the only criteria for overcoming anything, for solving any problem. Racism is just a problem, just like all other problems on earth, the problems that people have every day. It's just another problem, but it's the biggest problem. I have on the back of the book, you can't solve any major problem among the people of this planet without solving the problem of racism. Why? Because that's the biggest problem. That's the logic. Now, it could be that that's not true. There are a lot of people who say that it's not true. Then that means there's a question. If that's not the biggest problem, what is the biggest problem? And then you work on that. If that's what you believe, you work on that problem. But it's all a matter of looking at the problem, whatever it is, and saying how best to codify, meaning what's the best procedure for solving that problem. Now, everything that I've said is addressed to the individual. You have individuals have problems each day. I just started to give an illustration. What do you do when someone just rushes up to you on your job? That's supposed to be codified, and they start cursing and screaming. What do? You should codify your response. You should have a codified response that produces a constructive result to everything that happens, every minute of every day. That's what I try to write about. Mm-hmm. And when I don't have an answer, which you won't have an answer most of the time, you come up with one. Everybody's supposed to be codifying everything that they do. Mm-hmm. So I'm codified. If anybody rushes up to me and starts cursing and screaming and whatnot, the first thing I do is go quiet. If they're not actually swinging at me or throwing something at me, in which case I'll try to get out of the way, then I would just listen what the person is saying. Don't pay attention to the name calling. And don't ever call anybody a name except what the person wants to be called by.
Yes, sir.
Call them strictly by the name that they want to be called by, regardless of what they call you. And that should be your response.
Yes, because you mentioned that the code indicated there are 3 F's: don't fuss, don't fight, or don't flee.
Well, that's when you're dealing with law enforcement people and all like that. But I'm just talking about just ordinary day-to-day activities.
Okay.
Most people, if someone approaches them in a hostile manner and they're just talking, the knee-jerk reaction among many black people is if the person is cursing and screaming, they'll start cursing and screaming in response. No, don't ever do that. Go quiet. The louder they get, the quieter you get. That's the codified procedure. Train yourself to do that, so that before it happens, you'll be ready. And then you listen to what the person is saying, and then you ask questions. So, what is the problem?
Okay,
that's when they calm down.
So then that code that you gave concerning law enforcement, don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee, would not apply in this situation. You're not going to fuss. You don't want to fight the person, and you definitely don't want to run away or flee. You
will flee if the person is trying to do you physical harm.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
right.
Okay. Yes. Now going back to Mitro, you've traveled through the Air Force and through the Army. You've been through other countries. Many here have not, and you've seen this system of worldwide racism. And it was pointed out that what the French are doing down in Guyana, which I really didn't know, and it was horrible. But at the same time, in their implementation of their racist policies, but at the same time, the Guyanans do not want them to leave because they said that if the French left, then their economy would basically collapse. It's very difficult to travel or to catch a plane to get in the country except through the French airlines and to go to other places. And then I thought about what they've done in Haiti. Can you speak to that system of how the racists have put up a program for those who resist them and what the results that happen to them when they do resist?
Oh, well, the racists always let non-white people know that they go where they please and do what they want to. So you always expect that. And you just codify your response to their presence. First of all, finding out what they want to do there, and you know that what they want to do is dominate and mistreat people, and then you follow what is outlined in the code. You pick and choose. I mean, minute by minute. It's everything that I have written is addressed to the individuals because you can't stop them at any so-called borders. The racists go where they please. They can walk into your house anytime they want to. Why? Because it's their house. We're prisoners of war. If you're a person of color, you're a prisoner of war on this planet. And you do what you're told in that prison. But you're supposed to be constantly thinking about turning that prison into the type of world, because the whole world is a prison, that it ought to be. Mm-hmm. And you should always be in that frame of reference. They're completely in charge. They're not trying to get in charge. There's no such thing as a black country. There's no such thing as a black anything. I mean, you don't have a black radio station, really, or a TV station, or anything that's really owned by black people. Why? Because black people of this planet are owned by the white supremacists. They are the owners. It's illegitimate, but that's what white supremacy means. They go where they please. Non-white people go where they are sent. Wow. And so when they come in, you should just have a code for what you're going to do once they walk in. Once they come, walk in, knock on the door, whatever, you just simply say, okay, why are you here? What is it you want me to do? All right, why do you want me to do it? And then you start going into a codified procedure of how you're going to react to their presence. Hopefully, it will be opposed. You pick something out of the code that will be in opposition to what they are trying to do, but you want to do it systematically because everything that they do is systematic.
Yes, sir.
So you do some thinking first before you start screaming and yelling in any situation. Always say, okay, they're here. They're here to do this, that, and the other. So therefore, I will go to the part of the code that addresses what they are doing. That's why I say it's very general. It's very difficult for me to talk on these programs about specifics.
Yes, sir.
Unless a person asks me, well, what do you do when this happens? What do you do when that happens? Then I can go right to it because there's so much. There's so many thousands of things that are going on all over the world every minute. So you have to address specifics. That's what I have to do on this program. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it easier and faster and more efficiently. But that's basically what it is, solving problems immediately as soon as they happen. That's what every individual is supposed to be able to do.
Right.
Solve a problem immediately as soon as it happens. And then when the next problem happens, in the next 5 minutes, have a code for that. Have a code for everything.
Okay. TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go. Download TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host of the Compensatory Concept on TalkTameItRadio.com. We are speaking with Neely Fuller Jr., and he is addressing what he started off with, wants. Why do you want what you want? How, when, where, why? You can get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. I have a Gmail from Sippyway. He says, Mr. Fuller, what would you do if someone gave you an expensive watch? And he indicated $500. He said, the reason I asked this is I am a non-white male in an attempted marriage with a non-white female who recently received such a gift from her son. She wanted to keep the watch for sentimental reasons and for, quote, showing off, end of quote. I suggested she express appreciation to her son and then sell the watch and use the money for something more constructive. So, in other words, what would be the codified response to such a situation? Thank you.
Well, here again, I'm having a little problem understanding exactly what was saying. Sometimes I don't comprehend exactly what the question is.
If you'd like for me, I could read it again. I'm reading it just as he wrote it. He said, what would you do if someone gave you an expensive watch? And then he said, the reason I asked this is because I'm a non-white male in an attempted marriage with a non-white female who recently received such a gift from her son. Now, she wanted to keep the watch for sentimental reasons and for showing it off. And I suggested she express appreciation to her son and then sell the watch, use the money for something more constructive. So in other words, what would be the codified response to her in such a situation?
Yeah, make the suggestion that you think is be the most constructive. That would be the reaction. So make the suggestion to her that you thought would have the most constructive result. And this is for individuals to determine. See, each individual should be trying to empower him or herself in the most constructive manner. But the criteria for anything is this constructive? Is this going to prove to be constructive? So this is what people should be about. That, regardless of the situation. You're talking about a watch. All right, what is a watch for? Is it for showing off, or is it for telling time? See, you start asking questions. This is a watch. A watch is a timepiece for measuring time. That's what it's for, unless you want to show it off. Now, show it off to whom? The code says you don't do anything to show off, ever. Now, what is show-offism? Show-offism is just trying to impress somebody that you have something that you really didn't produce yourself. That's a part of it. That's one of the four basic show-offisms among black people, is to show off things that they have gotten directly and indirectly from the white supremacists, because that's where it comes from. Directly or indirectly, anywhere in the world, it comes from the white supremacists, because they are in charge of everything. So if you get something from anybody, anywhere, that you didn't produce yourself, then you're going around parading it, you're showing off something that somebody else did. So what's this showing off about? What do you call yourself doing? You say, well, I was able to obtain it. Well, you're able to obtain anything in this world that's called a racist prison. If you're a prisoner of war, and the warden comes and gives you a watch, or lets you work for it to get it in his prison factory. So you have it. But what do you have it for? That's all it is. Mm-hmm. And that applies to not only a watch, but anything, a car, a house, some clothes, whatever. You're showing off, stop and think about what you're showing off for. What do you intend to accomplish by showing off anything when we have all of these problems all over the world, yes, wherever you find people of color? Okay. Who are you showing off to in order to gain what?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, what are you going to get for showing off? I get in my Lamborghini, and I drive around the block, and I show it off to people that I went to school with.
Who cares?
But even if they do care, what is the caring worth? What is it really worth?
So put a value on it. What is it worth? Yes, I see that. Wow. Okay, we have another question from someone in Washington, D.C. They said, Mr. Fuller, what will be the risk of letting go of my shame, anger, and pride and going on to ask white strangers for a job as a non-white person in Washington, D.C.?
To go on a job?
Yeah, go for a job as a non-white person in Washington, D.C. What will be the risk of, she is saying, what will be the risk of letting go of my shame, anger, and pride on going on to ask white strangers for a job as a non-white person in Washington, D.C.?
What do you have pride for? Pride is supposed to serve a purpose. What is pride good for? See, all problems are solved by questions and answers. People will tell me that, Fuller, you should have pride. Pride in what? I'm a prisoner of war. I'm under the system of white supremacy. Now, what is pride supposed to accomplish? I'm just bursting with pride. What does that actually mean in a functional sense, day to day? I don't see any value in it. I mean, if I can identify what it is. What you do, I'm asking for a job. That's all I'm doing. It doesn't have anything to do with pride. I'm asking for a job because I need one. So you just walk in. You don't have any shame. You don't have any anger. You don't have any pride. But you don't look up to yourself or down to yourself, or you don't look up to the person that you're asking for a job. It's not up and down and sideways and around the corner. You're just asking for a job. in order to do what? To get money to pay your bills or whatever you're asking for a job for. That's all you concentrate on. Mm-hmm. It's all mechanical. See, we're always talking about how we feel about everything rather than how we should think about things.
Okay, well, since you went there, then she says this. The next question is, what might they think and feel about me after that fact?
Oh, whatever they think. So what? You're asking for a job. They either give it to you or they don't. It's all dots and dashes. It's not about all this emotional roller coaster. Either they give you the job or they don't. That's the only issue here. We got a war going on. You're a prisoner of war. You've already been captured. You're asking for a job in the prison. Duh, what else is new? That's all people. If you look at it that way, everything is real easy as far as what we call our emotional trips. Because we, black people, like all people, we have emotions, but emotions serve a purpose. Your emotions are kicking in order to do what? Emotions are supposed to lead you to logic. It's logical that if you're in a system that requires you to have a job, you just go and get a job. And then you move to the next step after you do that, and the next step, and the next step.
Mm-hmm. So should she or we care what the white supremacists think of us when we go asking them for a job?
Whomever you're going to ask for a job, you're asking them for a job. If you get anything as a prisoner of war, you're getting it from the white supremacists.
Okay.
There's nothing that a non-white person on this planet has that he or she does not get from the white supremacists, either directly or indirectly. Sometimes you'll hear black people say, "Oh, I work for myself. I don't work for them folks." You're not telling the truth. You're working for them folks, meaning the white supremacists, from the day you were born to the day that you die, as long as there's a system of racism. I mean, you are doing it indirectly. You say, "Well, I have my own business." You got your own business, but you do business with them according to their rules. So what do you mean, your own business? You got to have, if you get anything that's worth anything, you better believe your business is being authorized by them. And when it's not, you hear from them real quick.
That is true, because I was getting ready to say I have my own business, but as I got to think about it, I had to go through some paperwork to get the authorization to conduct my business.
You have to get the authorization to breathe.
Wow.
They let us breathe because they can cut off our breath anytime they get ready. And they don't have to do it through drones either. They can poison the air, or they can just make you sick, or just don't take care of you when you get to the hospital. End of story.
And that's a very powerful statement you just made. Very, very powerful. Wow. Ooh, for the remaining moments, if you have a question, we have just a few moments that you can get in. 1-877-932-9766. Once, when you started out with that, what brought you to that particular point to bring out this morning? Hello, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, what brought me?
Yeah, to speak, to address wants.
The wants?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I decided, I had said this on this program before, I think. I've said it on many other programs. It's because I think that if people just think about what they want, see, the difference between the white supremacists and the black people of this planet, basically, is what do we think about when we think about what we want. And black people have a problem of wanting the correct things. The white supremacists want to be white supremacists. That's a powerful idea. See, and what is white supremacy? Dominate and mistreat people based on color. They wake up in the morning and go to bed at night thinking about that. You have to be a real powerful and smart person in order to do that, in order to satisfy that kind of want. that I want to go all over the world, and wherever I see people of color, I want them to wait on me. I want them to do what I want them to do. You have to be smart to do that. You can't be dumb and do that, and you can't be lazy. You have to be a person with a whole lot of energy and do a whole lot of planning. Now, what do black people want to do? Mostly, truth be told, what we want to do is impress other black people.
Show off. Huh?
Truth be told, show off.
Okay, there it is right there. Okay, when you hear the music, everybody, you know what that means. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. We will see you next week.